BRICS, a prominent economic bloc comprising 10 significant economies in the world, vows to continue the de-dollarization process even after Trump's direct threats to the bloc's countries. This year, in July, Brazil will host the annual meeting of the BRICS and can come up with a new common digital payment system to reduce reliance on the dollar. Brazil's President Lula da Silva has said that BRICS is committed to ending US dollar's dominance no matter what. The Brazilian president was heard saying US President Donald Trump's threats of tariffs won't stop the group's determination to seek alternative platforms for payments between member countries. Brazil's BRICS presidency will strengthen the bloc's push for a multipolar world, said Lula da Silva. US President Donald Trump has threatened BRICS countries multiple times with 100% tariffs on their exports if they attempt to replace the US dollar as the dominant currency in the international trade. Trump wrote on Truth Social, "The idea that the BRICS countries are trying to move away from the dollar while we stand by and watch is over." However, it seems BRICS is not backing down and will continue their efforts to de-dollarize trade. Trump's tariff threats even make BRICS to de-dollarize faster than before. Russia had also said that any attempt to compel countries to use the dollar would backfire, which seems true. Before I proceed, I encourage you to like the video and share your views on the topic in the comment section below. Your feedback is invaluable for us and a wider audience around the world. BRICS, which stands for Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, is progressively regarded as a viable economic alternative to Western powers. Its objective is to contest Western supremacy in global governance and financial institutions by promoting collaboration and developing alternative frameworks. BRICS nations are working to reduce their reliance on the US dollar in international trade and finance. Trump's tariffs may increase the speed for de-dollarization due to insecurity in trade with the United States. Even the US's own allies are not feeling secure now. The development of BRICS Pay, a potential alternative to the SWIFT payment system, is another step towards creating a more independent financial infrastructure. The rise of BRICS is seen by some as a shift towards a more multipolar world order, with the BRICS nations playing a more prominent role in global affairs. However, the question arises, what if Trump slaps 100% tariffs on BRICS countries? As Trump threatened BRICS recently, then it is possible that he can slap high tariffs on BRICS countries. However, it is important to recognize that BRICS countries export more to the United States than they import, meaning that such tariffs could adversely affect American citizens financially. Additionally, BRICS nations are likely to respond with retaliatory tariffs, which would significantly impact US companies that export to these markets. In various aspects, including economy, military strength, population, and land area, the collective power of BRICS surpasses that of the United States and even combined G7 countries. BRICS even becoming stronger day by day. In recent years, BRICS has expanded to include Egypt, Ethiopia, Indonesia, Iran, and the United Arab Emirates. The BRICS economic collaboration has only intensified since Western sanctions were imposed on Russia following its invasion on Ukraine. Is it now possible for Trump to stop de-dollarization? The growing momentum of de-dollarization is proving difficult to navigate, as a significant number of countries in BRICS and ASEAN are advocating for the adoption of local currencies, encouraging a departure from the US dollar. In retaliation to the sanctions imposed by the US on Russia, a member of BRICS, the Kremlin is effectively persuading other nations to move away from the dollar and utilize their own currencies. This de-dollarization trend is expanding, with many developing countries keep to join. If this trend continues, the US dollar may experience a decline in its supply and demand dynamics within the currency markets, potentially leading to increased inflation and higher prices for essential goods in the United States. So in reality, it is impossible to stop BRICS and de-dollarization. How will de-dollarization affect the United States? Three significant sectors in the United States could face substantial repercussions if BRICS ceases to utilize the dollar for trade and transactions. The first sector likely to be impacted is the banking and finance industry, which is predominantly controlled by the US and other Western nations that are heavily influenced by American policies. A shift away from the dollar would undermine the global dominance that the US dollar currently holds, resulting in instability within the American banking system as the demand for the dollar diminishes internationally. The second sector that may experience adverse effects is international trade and investment. BRICS could potentially reshape trade practices to align with their objectives, opting to use a new BRICS currency or local currencies for cross-border transactions. This shift would likely lead to a decline in investments denominated in US dollars, creating a currency deficit. Given that the value of the US dollar is driven by supply and demand, a decrease in demand could trigger hyperinflation. Lastly, the consumer goods and retail sector would be significantly affected, directly impacting the daily lives of American citizens. Should the economy enter a phase of hyperinflation, the prices of essential goods would inevitably surge. This scenario could result in job losses and render everyday life increasingly unaffordable for the average American. However, which countries will benefit the most from de-dollarization? It is well known that China is leading the de-dollarization process through the BRICS grouping to capture the currency market share in the world and increase its influence to challenge the United States on the global stage. The largest economy in BRICS, China, is the number one trading partner of almost all the countries in the world. As China's economy has rapidly grown and its manufacturing abilities have advanced, it has also pushed for the de-dollarization of its international trade. According to the IMF, about over half of China's foreign trade is conducted in its own currency, yuan. Historically, commodities like oil and natural gas have been traded in US dollars, with the majority of transactions taking place on Western exchanges. However, the BRICS expansion, which now includes the United Arab Emirates, Iran, Egypt, Argentina, and Ethiopia, is expected to shift global oil market dynamics. If Saudi Arabia joins BRICS, then the BRICS group will control about 43% of global oil production. In 2023, 20% of global oil trade was carried out in non-dollar currencies. While the BRICS countries have been discussing a common currency, the grouping has also recently come up with an interpayment system, which has been adopted by 159 countries. At an individual level, countries around the world including China, Russia, India, Iran, Saudi Arabia, UAE, Brazil have been moving towards trade in local currencies. China and Russia have de-dollarized more than 90% of their bilateral trade and now trading in their local currencies, yuan and ruble. The trade value between China and Russia reached a record high of $240 billion in 2023, a 26.3% increase from 2022. Not only are nations aligned with Russia and China, but countries with strong connections to the United States such as India, Brazil, the UAE, Saudi Arabia, and members of ASEAN have also expressed preference for decreasing their reliance on the US dollar for trade. These nations have begun to engage in transactions using their local currencies. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel for new videos on important international topics.